Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Absolute Beginners Racing here from Daytona International Speedway as drivers are preparing for 70 minutes around the 3.56 mile 12 corner Daytona International Speedway sports car course. Will Vincent along with Randy Chenoweth here as qualifying is close to completion, about 2 minutes 50 seconds on the play clock. Got three different classes of cars here. You've got yourselves the P1 cars, they are your HPD machines. You've got yourself the P2 Radicals, and then you've got yourself the GT cars as well. Three classes worth of racing, Randy, and we're getting set for 70 minutes worth of action.
Yeah, this should be pretty interesting. I've never seen the way the Radical works with the Riley DP or the GT cars before. It'll be interesting to see. I think that it'll make this very, very fun racing and give us a bit of an early feeling of dust before we get that new Daytona prototype.
And track temperature a little bit tricky right now, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. We've got ourselves a southeasterly wind of 3 miles an hour. That's fluctuating.
The wind doesn't know which way it wants to go. It just went from south to northeast, now it's back to north.
Yes. So the wind is fluctuating. That is going to make life really difficult for these drivers, especially down into turn number one. Coming into that corner at about 170 miles an hour, breaking it down into turn number one. Double apex left-hander, tricky at the best of times. When you're not quite sure what the wind's going to do, that's going to make it incredibly difficult for these drivers.
Exactly, it's going to mess with the aerodynamics of the car. It's going to be pushing the car in every which way, and people aren't going to know what's going on. Turn 1 is going to be interesting the second lap. The first lap you don't come in with quite as much speed, but turn 1, lap 2 is going to be pretty airy.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow us on Twitter at RaceSpotTV. Myself, Will Vincent, Randy Chenoweth, going to be bringing you the action for the next 70 minutes as the checkered flag will come out in about 1 minute's time for qualifying. Drivers are currently circulating on the racetrack. Let's check in with a couple of drivers very quickly. We will start off by having a look at Andrew Daniels. He's actually just sat on pit road. He's about to come out onto the racetrack. Got a couple of people on. We have got L. Peterson right now in at number 19, Pennzoil GT car. I have to say, probably the best paint scheme we have here today, Randy.
Yeah, it's the Japanese Grand Touring Championship, whatever they call it, the GT500, GT350 now. The replica of the Pennzoil Skyline paint scheme. Yeah, I've always liked that one. It's one of my favorite. But again, my favorite color is yellow, so that makes me a bit biased.
Yeah, true story. Right now, Peterson just working himself out the horseshoe, working himself through this very difficult turn number 5 on the racetrack. That kink as well is going to really catch out GT drivers over the course of this event as checkered flag coming out for the end of qualifying, so any drivers on their lap will be able to complete it. Any driver who is not on a fast lap, well, that's about qualifying over for him. But we'll talk about this over the course of this event, Randy. But that kink, talk about turn number 1, the kink especially the GT cars is just going to be so difficult, and when these guys are racing nose to tail, they're going to have some blind faith going through there, not knowing which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, the kink is really hard to deal with, especially you know, you come on in the braking and you're going off the banking, and although there's not much banking there is a little bit, and it is enough that it can upset the car. So the little difference in banking there as you get off it, and then you got the wind, and then you're braking, turning the car to the left, trying to double apex it, slow the car down, and then get it slowed down for the tighter left. It's a handful when there's no wind, but when you got iRacing tornado wind out there, it makes it damn near impossible.
And you see a couple of cars still circling on the racetrack. The number 19 car just coming past the start-finish line, so he is done. Just checking to see if there's any other cars circulating on the racetrack. We have a couple. We have Adam Bradshaw currently circulating on the racetrack in the number 5 P2 machine, working himself towards the banking once again. We can go on board with him for the last couple of corners of this run. Currently sat 4th in qualifying in that P2 car. So he's last place right now, 6 seconds off the pace. Struggling a little bit right now, but 70 lap race, Randy, means that anything can happen. First thing you've got to do, of course, is make sure you bring that car home.
Yeah, running for an hour and 10 minutes Daytona, anything can happen. All you need to worry about at Daytona is just trying to stay close enough to the infield. You have to draft to the car ahead, and no matter how fast you are through that infield, it won't matter.
So then,
that draft dominates all of Daytona.
So then, qualifying is over. Let's then get ready to run through your starting grid as the RaceSpotTV first safety car gets yourself at the front of the field and the cars line up behind it. Starting with P1, and it is T-Mac who scores pole position overall with a qualifying time. Then you've got Andrew Daniels lining up alongside him on the front row of the grid. Then you've got Brad Lawson and Liam Quinn lining up in row number 2. Then you've got Conflict rounding out your P1 field. Over into P2 as it stands, and it is Andy Corquill from Jimmy Effling, Adam Bradshaw and Joel Ulmer. And then to look at the GT grid, Bert Bergins from Marcus Kramer, Brian Herring, Andy Morgan, Gordon Wilson, Kyle Petson, David Henry, Christopher Hara, Adam Lee, Greg Hogg, L. Peterson, Chad Stinner, Darren Curran, Jimmy Effling. We've got a couple of other people mixed in here as well, so we do apologise. It's just got a little bit confusing with our qualifying grid for the GT cars, but Darren Curran is at the rear of the GT field. Getting set to go racing then for 70 minutes around the Daytona International Raceway. And it does seem to be that these guys are going to have to be careful on the opening laps of this race until this field gets spread out. And I think their first run on the banking going to be very close, and some people might try in the GT field to get themselves around that radical. I'm not quite sure what the top speed difference is between them, but we do know that some of these GT cars are very fast in a straight line and incredibly fast on that banking.
Oh yeah, the GT cars really do. They don't mess around getting on the banking. It is going to see. It is going to be interesting to see how they act with that radical on the straights. I know that the radical is very light, and that's where it gets a lot of its speed from. It's not really a very fast straight line car. And I mean, if you look at the qualifying times, even the fastest time on the radical compared to the GT cars, it's not a big difference. They're only about a second. So it's going to be. It can definitely be pretty hairy, I'd say, looking at these in the early going with the radicals.
You got some very interesting paint schemes. The number 82 car as well, that day glow orange Harley Davidson car. He's one to keep an eye on in this race. He'll be starting this race from the outside of row number 1. Field work themselves right now 2x2 through the infield section of the racetrack. And this corner, we talked about a couple of corners already, turn 1 and then the King. But this corner right here, coming onto the banking, is one which drivers always seem to struggle with, Randy, because you go from the flat, get onto the banking, you seem not to have much grip as you put the power down, the track opens up, there's so many lines through here, yet you try and get the power too early whilst turning that car, it's very easy to get loose and spin it here.
Yeah, that corner is bumpy. That last horseshoe, it's bumpy, it's slick, because like you said, it's completely flat, and it's in a part of the track that only gets raced a few times a year, so there's no real rubber buildup, it's basically just virgin asphalt. But, so there's not a whole lot of grip there, which makes things a bit hairy, but it is a very, very fun corner to run. And you know that when you come onto there, it's like, okay, you're about to be hitting 170 miles an hour in the draft with other cars around you, and then you're about to be braking hard for this bus stop that we're coming up to. And this bus stop is probably the most fun chicane I've ever driven.
And it is one of the 2 big passing zones on this racetrack. You brake as late as you possibly can. It'll vary between the cars as well. Some of them will do it down at about the 300 meter mark if you're in a GT car. I expect the LMP cars to be going to about the 200, maybe even the 150 meter board, breaking down into that corner. Wind will play a big difference in that as well. We talk about blind faith. You're running too wide down into the bus stop, you might just want to try and brake just a little bit later to get the pass that you need to have happen. But you see now, you've got the LMP cars are working themselves out of the bus stop. They're working behind the iRacing.com first safety car as we get set to go racing for 70 minutes around the Daytona International Speedway sports car course. And on the front row, you have got yourself that yellow number 82 machine. Sorry, the orange 82 machine is on the outside line. You have got the JFH car on the inside. Any moment now, that pace car is going to make its journey down on towards pit road. We're going to set these cars ripping for 70 minutes worth of racing at Daytona under the lights here. Pace car now making that journey onto pit road, and the 287 car of T-Mac brings the field to the green flag. This race will start right now. And a good start there by your pole sitter. Does seem to be that Harley Davidson car very slow down into turn number 1.
Oh yes indeed, he definitely lost out a spot there earlier. Oh, our pole sitter pushes way wide, and he throws away the orange car, pushes way wide too. We had, but 2 of the top 3 just completely buggered turn 1. Now the 63 of Brad Lawson has taken over the lead that early.
That Harley Davidson car is right at the rear of the field, and we have got a little bit of contact right in the centre of the field there. We'll try and get confirmation of who that is. We've got Andy Corkrill there in the LMP2 car spun around down at the International Horseshoe. So your number 67 machine will now go to the rear of the field, and he was last place now in the P2 cars as that Harley Davidson car was able to get back around there. But we're talking about a change in the early going. It is now Brad Lawson in that number 63 auto-backed car who leads away as they come onto the banking for the first time. Got himself a nice cushion, actually. He's not too far away from being able to break away from the draft. It's about a 0.8-second gap on the racetrack right now as they head themselves down into the bus stop. But you see, 0.4 of a second was gained in just a short space of the flat there. Lawson's advantage was cut in half, and here comes Liam Quinn as they're back onto the banking. The gap is 0.7 of a second. We're trying to have a look from the rear of Brad Lawson. You can just see this gap closing all the way down as they work themselves down towards the start-finish line once again. Now they're onto the flat. Keep an eye out on Quinn. Will he try and come down to the inside? They are mighty, mighty close right now. And it's going to be Lawson leads away, but down into turn number 1. T-Mac does try and make the move. Not quite close enough there, Randy.
He played that really smart. He held the draft all the way around the oval, which is what you want to do here. Yeah, it's a roval, but you basically run all 2.5 miles of the Daytona Super Speedway. But yeah, he's doing exactly what he needs to do, and Brad Lawson is probably going to be a bit frustrating because no matter what he does to his infield, and no matter how much time he stretches, unless he stretches out more than about a 1.5-second gap, it's just all going to be swallowed back up when he gets back onto the oval. It makes for some exciting racing, but it makes for some very annoying leading.
Yeah, and what you always need now is for T-Mac and Liam Quinn to start battling. If you are Lawson, that might give him the opportunity to get, but now we've got 3 of your P1 cars separated nose to tail, and here comes Liam Quinn. He's looking to the outside, and that was the corner we were talking about there, turn number 7 on the racetrack. Very difficult to get the power down, and Quinn did get himself a better run there. You can see that T-Mac had a bit of an issue. Now he's got Quinn right behind him. Potential for a little bit of side-by-side racing as they come down into the bus stop chicane. Not quite close enough. Your LMP P1 battle will continue. Behind, however, just to give you an update on the P2 situation as it stands right now. I'm going to check in on John Ulmer. He leads the way in P2. And he's got himself a pretty sizable gap by the looks of it over his nearest P2 rival there, Randy.
Yeah, he does. Ulmer's kind of run away with this in the Radical field. He's basically 4th overall, and then his 2nd place in Radical class is running behind a couple GT cars, excuse me, a DP and another GT car, so that's going to be interesting. The thing that'll be nice is I believe Ulmer's probably going to lose the draft of these DPs in front of him. However, Jimmy might be able to keep this draft on his GT cars, and he might be able to pull forward. Although Jimmy's moving way down the field, I believe he had an issue, which means 2nd place in your P2 field becomes Adam Bradshaw. Actually, no, excuse me, it's still Jimmy, but he must have had a spin or contact or something, and he dropped 20 seconds that last lap.
Wow, and that does mean now that Ulmer leads the way by getting 17.8 seconds at the conclusion of lap number 2 here just driving away in that P2 field as it stands right now. Effling, just having a look back, he has actually got a little bit of damage to the left rear of his car as well. We can see if we can get a look at that, but the left rear of that car is clearly crumpled right there, Randy. So potentially he might have had a little bit of contact, got helped around in that Jägermeister car. Not the way he would wanted to have started this race.
Yeah, that Jägermeister car looks like it's being driven by someone that's full of Jägermeister, but that damage doesn't look like it. Probably won't hurt him in the high-speed stuff, or in terms of the corners, but it'll probably hurt him down these straightaways, which is what he's really going to hate it, which is where he'll definitely lose the most time.
Yeah, I'm just checking, and he has got a car storming behind him right now. That is Adam Bradshaw as they work themselves back down into the bus stop chicane once again. Bradshaw not quite close enough to make a pass, but there are 3 cars nose to tail on the racetrack right now. Then you've got Heffling, as I said, he's running P2 in the P2 class. Got Bradshaw right behind it, about a 0.5 of a second gap now between those 2 drivers. And then having a look back, you've got, is that the P1 car there that we were talking about, the Harley Davidson car, trying to recover. You see going to the outside of one of the P2 cars, then going to the inside, getting both of them done, and that is the speed differential advantage we were talking about a little bit earlier on, Randy.
And the speed differential here is going to be really, really important. The prototypes, as that Harley Davidson car pushes wide again, I think he's trying to drive a little too high. He just gets the wall. That's going to hurt him in his top end. However, he didn't hit that wall very hard. He should be okay. However, that's the second time in about 4 or 5 laps that he's done that. He needs to just calm down. I don't know if maybe he has something wrong with his brake bias. Maybe he has something wrong with something else, but he just needs to relax. Don't worry about pushing. He's got about another hour worth of racing left. If he's going to make up that time, he's going to make it up anyway. And just throwing it away like that is counterproductive.
And Adam Bradshaw went off the racetrack down at the International Horseshoe as well. So, a couple of drivers, we're talking about the wind difficulty here, making it very difficult for these drivers. And what it is, Randy, is that these guys are having to come down into turn number 1, into the Horseshoe, down into turn number 7, a different way each lap, and they don't know what that wind is going to do. You can get a little bit of a feeling down into turn number 1 as you're having a look at the speedometer. You know, if you're going a little bit faster, you know you're going to have to brake a little bit earlier coming down into turn number 1. If you're getting more of a headwind, actually it might be a little bit better for you. Might be able to go a little bit deeper into the corner. But these crosswinds especially seem to be hurting these drivers right now at Daytona.
Yeah, it's a crosswind that'll really mess with you. We got Andrew Daniels coming up against a damaged P2 who's got a lot of rear wing damage. But it's a crosswind that'll really mess with you because if you have a headwind or a tailwind, you're going faster or slower, but it doesn't mess with the balance of the car quite so much. But if you have a wind coming perpendicular to you, it'll just want to shake the car back and forth and push it across the track. It's getting a call from one of our spotters. They've got some 3-wide action going somewhere on the track right now.
We have got 3-wide action. We've got a little bit of 2-wide action going on as well. Adam Lee in the number 25
We might have just lost one of those GT cars. He got really loose coming out of turn 2. I'm not sure if he hit the wall or not.
I don't know, but we've got 3-wide racing still there. Adam Lee in the number 25 car going side by side down into turn number 1, and that is him now up into the 3rd position in the GT class. You've got a couple of people there as well. He's got another car coming out of pit road actually as well. And the car just having a look ahead of him, the Don't Care car per se, the number 40 machine I believe it is, coming out of the International Horseshoe. A lot of backfire from that car actually. Adam Lee's also got a little bit of rear end damage, so a little bit of bumping and banging in the early going, but we do know that these BMWs especially are very resilient to damage, shall we say.
The BMWs can be very resilient to damage. However, if you hit them wrong, they can crumple like they're made out of paper. But it's going to be interesting watching Adam Lee try to chase down this Honey Badger Don't Care car of Burt Barron.
And Gordon Wilson, by the way, just going off track in the number 42 machine, bringing itself back on, got some substantial rear damage to his BMW, however, running at the rear of the field in that GT class, so not the waste that he wants to be having happen to him right now. But let's talk about the guy who is running out front, because T-Mac is back to the overall race lead. Liam Quinn is behind him about 4 tenths of a second back right now as they bring those cars back down into turn number 1. T-Mac, he had that issue down in turn number 1 on lap number 1 as he brought the field to the green flag, has been able to get himself back into position, and he is now once again ahead of Liam Quinn, and these two have been able to break away now from Brad Lawson, who runs in that 3rd position.
Yeah, that's going to be huge for these two, because it with Liam Quinn. Oh, Liam Quinn spins off that horseshoe.
And that's
coming onto the back straightaway. That was your 2nd place runner in the P1 field.
No, he's still going. It does, by the looks of it. Our timing and scoring showing something a little bit different. Give me 1 minute. But yeah, Liam Quinn is now down the field, and that is not what he would have wanted to have happen to him at all, Randy. And not only has he lost the draft, he now is going to be on the back foot for the rest of his race, and he comes back on the track in a very horrible way there on the banking, which could damage the underside of that race car as they work themselves back down toward the bus stop chicane once again. But Liam Quinn, not the sort of thing that he would have wanted to happen to him. And that section of the racetrack after the horseshoe as well is so fast. Now, even if you go wide a little bit, you can lose almost a second immediately, Randy. It doesn't look as though that Quinn's balance on his race car is working now. A little bit of that fuel's come out.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the toughest places on the racetrack to actually drive the car. Just because it's very bumpy and you want to push really fast. And the thing is with that corner is that it looks a little faster than you can actually drive it. So it's really easy to overdrive it. And if you do overdrive it, you just end up either you push like a banshee and you just you take the long way around and lose a bunch of time and get a horrible run, or you spin, which is probably the worst of the two options, and both of them are terrible. But the best, I think, driving Daytona in general, the best almost advice to give is just be patient with these slow hairpins, because if you try to attack them too hard, you will lose yourself a lot more time than you would ever gain.
And also with these cars as well, the tyre vulcanization and the drop-off that you get over the course of a run, you have got to be careful that you don't push too much too early. And just having a look down the field, going back to a little bit of our GT action, we have got Kyle Petson running himself right now 5th in that GT class. It's Liam Quinn, by the looks at losing it again, and this was outside of turn number 6 this time by. So Quinn pushing that car hard, and of course you spin that car around, those tyre temperatures just heat up. It makes that car as if you're on ice blocks in the next lap or so. Quinn, I think he's just trying to get himself back into the rhythm right now. But every time he does that, he's just hurting himself even more. And get this, in just 1 lap, he's lost 24 seconds to the overall race leader.
Yep, he's definitely, I think right now he's going into what poker fans would call, he's going full tilt, which is basically where he's just trying and doing anything he can to win as hard as he can. And just as he doesn't, or as things aren't working, he's just getting more and more frustrated, and he just keeps trying harder and harder. And the problem is that can be very counterproductive with how you're running, and we're seeing that right now. He was up there in the top 2 or 3 with our leaders, but now, I mean, in 2 laps, like you said, he's got a 30-second damn near disadvantage to come back from. He doesn't have any of the draft from any competitors, and yeah, sure, I mean, it's a 70-minute race, but a 30-second gap is extraordinarily large gap to come up with in 70 minutes.
Let's check in on the battle for P4 and P5 in your GT class right now. Got Kyle Petson running in the 4th position. You've got Peterson running himself in 5th spot right now, about 1 second back, getting himself a little bit loose there on the exit of turn 1 in that Zexel Pennzoil car, coming down into the horseshoe once again, and Petson going a little bit wide down into that corner. You've got Marcus Kramer about 2 seconds back from that battle. Kramer was actually passed that last lap by Peterson as he came down into the bus stop chicane. That number 19 car is on the move right now, and he's closing up to the rear of Kyle Petson. Having a look at their last lap times, it was a 1 minute 48.2 for Petson there, and then a 1 minute 47 for Peterson. And so overall, it does look as though that Peterson is closing, and he's going to get a good draft as they come back into the banking once again.
Yeah, and that's the big thing that really helps you trying to get time back. And it's we have Burt Barron's Honey Badger Joe Care car. He has a ton of damage. I'm not sure where he wrecked off. I'm gonna go through our replays now and see if we can see what happened. But his car is like completely destroyed. The number 442 of Burt Barron.
Well, we'll come back to that one in a moment. Peterson actually almost ran into the rear of Petson as they came down into the box stop chicane. It's actually cost him about 1.5 seconds. Had to really slow down, compromise his line down into the box stop chicane. Now they're back onto the banking. That rough RT12 just not working for him. Now, not going to get the draft he needs. And what it's actually done is allowed Kramer to close up just a little bit. Petson continues to run in that 4th place on the racetrack. Peterson still running in that 5th position on the racetrack. A little bit of lap traffic coming into play as well. I believe that is actually the Honey Badger car we were just talking about, the number 442 machine.
Yeah,
Peterson's been, sorry, Peterson's just spun there. So Peterson down into turn 1, another turn 1 victim, as Peterson in that number 19 car has spun it around in that R12. And again, turn 1 being a big victim for these drivers.
Yeah, and the Honey Badger Don't Care car, that's actually where he spun. He got into turn 1, and he's between turns 1 and 2. And he locked up the rear, that looks like, and he backed the car into that tire barrier that's on the right there, basically about midway through the corner. I mean, he backed it in and was able to pretty much drive away, but he's got a lot of aerodynamic damage to that car right now.
So the Honey Badger car, the number 442 car, is struggling in this event. Peterson as well has fallen down. He's lost himself a position to Henry in that one. Looks like those two teammates are, but Henry now up into the 5th place in that number 80 machine, and has got himself right now about a 3-second gap now to Peterson as they continue along on the racetrack. Very quickly, let's run through your top couple of drivers in each of the classes. T-Mac now leads by 7 seconds over Brad Lawson in the P1 class, and you've got Flip running in 3rd place, Quinn in 4th. Quinn, of course, he had those couple of spins early on, putting him about 25 seconds behind the overall race lead, and then Andrew Daniels rounds out your P1 class. Having a look at P2, John Ulmer leads by a lap already over the field by the looks of it. Jimmy Effling in 2nd, Adam Bradshaw in 3rd, and then Andy Corkle looks like he is a DNF from this race. And then in the GT class, you've got yourself Brian Herring just dancing away right now, Randy. He's 17-second advantage over Adam Lee. Then Petson and Burns right now are running very close on the racetrack, just about 4 tenths of a second separating them. Then David Henry rounding out your top 5. But let's check in on that battle right now between Petson and Burns for P3 and P4 on the racetrack.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Barons is going to be able to do with this damaged car. It's where it should hurt him the most is the straightaway. However, I've seen wonky things happen, and it could actually end up helping him. The way he backed it in, he probably didn't tweak his suspension very much because he hit it square. And that McLaren's still sprinting flames as efficiently as it always does, so it may not be too hurt after all.
No, as they're onto the banking, here they are coming down towards the bus stop chicane one more time. Having a look at the play clock as well, we've completed about 15 minutes of this 70-lap event. We'll talk about strategy in just one moment's time. It does look as though that Fanatic BMW is going to be able to stay ahead through the bus stop chicane as they work themselves back onto the banking. That long run now down to the start finish line, Randy, and this is now the start of the race. A couple of people will already be thinking about strategy, potentially a couple of people thinking maybe they'll go off strategy. And the fuel numbers here, some people will try and run it down to the end. Some people might actually try and do this without doing a pit stop at all. And we're going to be very difficult with the fuel capacity that we have, just 80% of what we're used to.
Yeah, with 80% fuel capacity, it's going to be very, very, very tight trying to no stop it. 100% fuel in the GT cars, I think you might have had an issue where McLarens were able to do it. However, I think with 80% fuel, that extra 20% really is that's kind of a hefty hit, and it's probably not going to be possible. So these guys are probably just driving as hard as they can because they know everyone has to stop anyways.
Bert Behrens last time by in that number 442 GT car. Just having a look at him, and he was able to do himself a 1 minute 41.170. Compare that to Pitson, a 1 minute 46.842. So these two pretty much within a couple of tenths of a second of each other. And you talked about this earlier on, Randy, that if you're within a second and a half or so of the car in front, then actually you're getting about a second a lap free on lap time because of the draft. So for Barron, as long as he can stay within that slipstream of the car in front of him, which he's doing at the moment, which of course is Carl Petson in that 314 car, then he should be okay. He did drop off a little bit that last time by. He's going to be catching him up down into the bus stop chicane again. Does look as though Behrens hasn't got the straight line speed or the speed in the midfield section though to really kind of make a charge over Pitton in that battle for what is now P3 actually in the GT class. It looks like we've lost someone in that GT class. Marcus Kramer, by the way, is actually on pit road right now.
Not sure who it was we lost in that GT field. Excuse me. But we're going to have to figure, I'll look through and see if we can figure out who it was now. Something as we get deeper into this race to think about that a couple of the Radical drivers were talking about a little while as I'm tuned into their driver channel. They're running at night, and if you pay close attention, you will see that these Radicals do not have headlights. Which means that if they come up to slower traffic, the only thing that the GT cars will be able to see will be whatever they can see in their mirrors due to the light, or anything that their spotters tell them. So that could potentially be very, very hairy as we get in the later stage of these races when we have any Radicals passing some slower GT traffic.
Yeah, and there is a difference between the LMP lights as well, which is a bright white light, and then the GT3 cars, which is a more orangey yellow really glow car on the lights there. So you can tell the difference as well between a GT car behind you and an LMP car behind you. But when it comes down to the P2 cars, it is going to make things very difficult. And especially if you're involved in a big battle, you check your mirrors, and then all of a sudden you check it again, and there you are, you've got a P2 car just trying to storm it down to you in time. Can make for some very hairy moments later on in this race.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely gonna be interesting to see. Now, we could see a situation where we don't see too much of that, but 70-minute race, I have to feel that at some point the P2 guys will overtake some of these GT cars. I know that the speed difference, or excuse me, the GT3 cars, I know the speed difference is huge, but it's definitely there.
Let's check in then on this battle for the overall race lead, the P1 race lead. T-Mac, his last lap was a 1:42.768. He was 3 seconds faster than Lawson that last time by, as he had a bit of a moment. So Lawson's now fallen back to 10 seconds back in that overall race lead, and of course the P1 race lead as well. Lawson seems to just be cooking those tyres a little bit, getting himself in some compromising situations, has had to navigate around a little bit of traffic as well, and of course that will slow down your lap time. And one of the things as well in multi-class racing is that you know that sometimes you are going to be stuck behind some cars down in the infield section of this racetrack. You are going to lose a second, maybe 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds, but it swings and roundabouts. It will always change. Of course, being the leader, you always know that you don't want to wreck the leader. You always get a little bit more room given to the overall race leader in these things.
Some people like to wreck the leader. I can think of a certain Mac Backham that likes to wreck the leader, but it's only when he's leading does he like to wreck the leader. But no one ever wants to wreck the leader. It's just a way to get yourself kind of a bad name and more or less made fun of, because everyone, regardless of who they are, what class they're in, they'll give you crap for a move like that. But yeah, right now T-Mac's goal just needs to be run. Keep doing what he's doing and just stay consistent, and he should be able to have this. Brad Lawson was able to bring in about a second that lap. I'm not sure if T-Mac may have caught some traffic or if Brad may have had a draft.
It was fast lap actually for Brad Lawson, a 1:42.639, his fastest lap of the race. A 1:43.4 that last time by for T-Mac. So T-Mac did catch a little bit of traffic there, and again, it was exactly the swings around what we're talking about. Lawson sometimes having a lap stuck behind traffic, then T-Mac will have a lap stuck in traffic. One of these things that you're just going to have to deal with all race long. And having a look actually at Liam Quinn as well, running in that third place. He's still struggling down into 1:44s that last time by. So I think ever since that spin has got the car off, that is John Ulmer, your P2 race leader, losing it down into turn number 7 on the racetrack. So your P2 race leader has himself a moment. He's got himself, of course, a huge lead in that P2 class. But for Quinn, it does seem to be that he's probably just overcooked the set of tyres now, and he's losing a bit of lap time because of it. Ulmer just seemed to be that spin. We talked about that corner. It's one of these corners that no one really ever gets at Daytona, because everywhere else you can get a rhythm for it. Even turn 1 you can get a rhythm for it. Turn 6, turn 7 here at Daytona, you really can't.
Yeah, it's pretty hairy to get through. Even once you figure the corner out, it can be just a pain because with multi-class racing, you can have issues where you got faster cars coming through, and now suddenly you're on the outside line, and you're like, oh my god, the past week I've been practicing, I've never been on the outside here, what's about to happen? And then the outside of that corner is extraordinarily bumpy. And normally where you'd be clipping the apex, if you move up a lane because of traffic, it gets really bumpy up there, and it can make side by side pretty hairy. But so it's definitely one of those tough corners, I think, in general. It's probably the toughest corner on the racetrack, I think, save for maybe turn 1. But as we got a GT car off at turn 2 and 3, that is Chad Sinner.
Yeah, and to give you an update as well on who is P3 in this race but now scored down, we're getting word that it was Marcus Kramer actually in that number 32 car, running himself high up in the field in the early going. He right now is scored on pit road, and Quinn spinning again. Yeah, you're right, as Behrens, by the way, is also on pit road. So an issue for him. He's actually having a pit stop. He's been in pit road now for about 56 seconds. So potentially, just trying to get that damage repair. Now he's in a window to make it to the end of this race, as he ticks over the 1 minute mark being scored on pit road. But again, a spin for Liam Quinn, as he is still scored.
That one lost him a position. The timing hasn't updated because they haven't crossed the third finish line yet. But he did lose the position to Con Phillip, and we'll see that updated when they get to the third finish line here in about 20 seconds or so. But I mean, he was up there with our leaders, who are about from where Quinn is now. Well, I mean, Phillip is 33 seconds back from the leaders, and he's a good 2 seconds in front of Quinn now. So
1.5 seconds actually.
So he's lost about 35 seconds just in spins throughout this race, and that's what frustration can do to your race. It is really easy to throw away what looks like a decent position just through frustration and trying to drive harder than you actually should be.
And confirmation, Liam Quinn now down into 4th place.
Oh, and now Con Phillip
ahead, and that was Flip.
And now Con Phillip
into turn number 1, and Liam Quinn gets that position back. Flip is going to flip that car back into the right direction. He will carry on in that number 77 car. Andrew Daniels isn't going to come past him just yet. About a 6-second gap between those drivers right now. But these drivers are really struggling down in turn 1 right now. We're actually just having a look at our updated radar to give you an indication of the wind temperature. It's 73 degrees, so we've dropped a degree overall. The wind is changing all the time. It was a northeasterly wind just a moment ago, northwesterly wind now, 8 miles an hour as well. So it's strong winds here, and that does affect the car. You're looking at anywhere between, you know, a 16 mile an hour net change in wind condition, wind speed, and that means every time you come down into turn 1, it really is a leap of blind faith.
Oh, definitely, and that's why the turn 1 is so hard, is you're carrying so much speed into that corner, and then you got the wind just doing whatever the hell it wants to do with the car, and it's just completely manhandling your aerodynamics. It's making the car in general just mechanically feel a little bit different every time. You're coming in, you know, you could be coming in 5 miles an hour slower, could be coming in 5 miles an hour faster, could be coming in quite a bit faster, especially if you have a draft. And it can really, really mess with the car, with the way the car gets to do turn 1. When it's like this, you just need to pick a safe braking spot that's a little bit further back from where you would normally brake to go as fast as possible. You just need to get through that corner efficiently and get off the corner. If you try to push it and you lose the car, you lose so much time that yeah, sure, even if you pushed it the last 10 laps, it really wasn't worth it for that extra 4 tenths per lap time, or 3 tenths per lap time. As Phillip gets a little squirrely again out of turn 1, but he's able to hold on to it, flipping the grass. But yeah, I think some of these drivers need to just relax, and they just need to drive. They don't need to push.
As we are just having a look at the play clock, down towards the half-an-hour mark, scored complete in this race. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the next round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series takes place in 13 days' time at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It'll be the second time this season that drivers head over to the Ardennes Mountain and that beautiful 4.5-mile racetrack. Last time out, Gregor Hutu and Hugo Luis had an epic battle in the last 10 laps of that event as Hugo Luis tries to bounce back from a miserable middle part of the season. Find out what will happen. Round number 12 of the championship as the number 82 car just looping it around there, and that was Andrew Daniels in that number 7 car looping it around. Don't forget, next round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, 13 days time here on RaceSpotTV. Daniels looping it around turn 6 and turn 1. You forget as well, Randy, they pretty much are opposite ends of the racetrack. I'm actually just bringing up my track map now. They are literally opposite ends of the racetrack. So you're coming into the wind into turn number 1, coming out of the wind, and the way this wind seems to be going around, it means that you think, okay, this is how I've taken turn 1. This is how I'm then going to take turn number 6. You come down into that corner, it's the complete opposite.
Will, are you deaf?
No.
Because you're over here talking about turn 6, and our overall leader, T-Mac, he spun while we were in the break. He spun the car down in turn 1, and we have ourselves a new leader, my friend.
We do, and it is Brad Lawson there in the number 63 car, who does now lead the way. Confirmation as he comes past the start-finish line. Lawson leads the way. We'll try and get ourselves another replay of what happened to T-Mac in just one moment's time. But for Lawson, he's just been really consistent in this race. He's had one little issue in this car, but he's been that one driver who's just been keeping it all clean. Let's not forget, T-Mac lost it down into turn number 1 of lap number 1, was able to get the race lead, was unable to get up about an 11-second advantage. Now he falls down once again, and he is struggling now, scored down in that second position. Just to let you know, Ulmer is battling with Flip, so P2 versus P1. We've also got Kurian and Peterson right now battling on the racetrack, and just having a look to see what this is for in GT, and it is for P4 in GT right now. Kurian in that 4th position, Peterson just 1.8 seconds behind him, Randy.
Yeah, that could definitely be a good battle. Problem with the Peterson's gonna have is Kuhn's gonna have this draft with this this prototype going on to the oval. He won't have much of it, but he'll have a little bit. And I'm not sure if Peterson's gonna be close enough to have Kuhn. So Kuhn's gonna be able to stretch the gap a little bit. Oh, he gets dive bombed by a P2 or P1, excuse me. That was T-Mac coming through really, and then he spins it.
Yep, T-Mac spinning it once again there, and you see we talked about the frustration earlier for Liam Quinn. I think that has just kicked in for T-Mac now, and he is falling back now to 12 seconds. So from being about 12 seconds in the race lead, he's lost 25 seconds, just like Liam Quinn, in the space of 2 laps in this event. And all of a sudden now, T-Mac is on the back foot as we close in on the halfway point of this race.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you what steady, stable driving gets you. I mean, Brad Lawson, he hasn't been quick. He hasn't been not the fastest driver, but he led a few laps early on because the people that out-qualified him quite simply couldn't get through turn 1. And then now there's been 3 or 4 cars in front of him that have just, over the course of this race, it's not even like they've been caught up in other people's incidents. They've just made their own mistakes, one after another after another.
Another driver making a mistake is Peterson there in that GT car, losing it down at the bus stop chicane. Actually the first driver we've really seen been at the bus stop. Just got himself, I believe, onto the grass, coming down into the braking zone for that. We continue to get ourselves a replay of it, but not often you really see people, once they settle down into a rhythm, getting themselves loose down into the bus stop chicane. Just trying to see exactly what happened to him, as too much trail braking apparently, and the weight went off on the rear end. It's a very intelligent comment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wilman. Thank you for valuing my expert insight.
But just having a look, he did clip the rear of that car into the tyre barrier. So yeah, he lost it under braking there, potentially just trying to see whether he can brake a little bit later into the corner, onto that brake pedal a little bit harder. But Peterson has now lost that 4th place in the GT class. This GT class is getting rather spread out as well. I'm just having a look. Most of this GT class is now spread out by at least a couple of seconds. That might get closer together again. Just having a look as well to see whether T-Mac has recovered in that P1 class. His last lap was a 1 minute 52.7. Get confirmation this time as he comes past start finish time. See whether he is back now in the groove. His last lap won't actually be that much faster than Brad Lawson's, to be fair. Lawson, when he came past the start finish time, he did a 1 minute 43.4. Having a look at T-Mac as he works himself out of the bus stop chicane. Looking as though this is going to be in about the 1 minute 43 range at best, Randy. So maybe T-Mac's now just trying to regroup himself inside of that Honda Performance development car and just think, okay, I've got a pit stop to come. He's actually looking as though he's coming onto pit road. On silence there by Randy Chenoweth, but T-Mac is coming onto pit road then to make his pit stop as we are now halfway into this event. So T-Mac is the first to blink on pit road. Now, was that a strategic call, Randy? Just coming onto pit road now, knowing that he might have overcooked his tyres, knowing that he might just be able to get rid of them, regroup in the next 20-30 seconds while he's on pit road, and then go back out and be a new driver, the driver who we saw charge the field, and get himself back into P1 the first part of this race.
Yes.
Care to make any other comment on that?
Yeah, that's probably exactly what he did. He probably just overcooked his tires, and he probably take the pit stop as a way to relax. Just 'cause that's what he really needs to do right now. I think his tires being overcooked is the least of his problems. He's just trying to drive the car a little, like, way too hard. And I mean, we've seen Liam Quinn do it. We saw it. Who else was it? Was it Con Phillip? Oh no, Con Phillip had like one incident that was like it. But we've seen a couple of these DP guys.
By the way.
Okay, so anyways, he's definitely overcooked the tires. He definitely did that, but he's just his main problem has just been the fact he's driving way too hard and driving over his head. He just needs to calm down. He just needs to put in good, stable lap time.
John Ulmer comes out of pit road and his pit time was a 24.9 second stop. Liam Quinn in that P1 car hasn't actually made a pit stop, so I don't know why I'm talking about him. T-Mac, as I was saying there, his pit stop was a 20.1 second stop for him. Keep an eye out on Brad Lawson. He's now onto pit road as well. So pit stops continue. Your race leader is onto pit road. And this will be interesting to see if T-Mac is able to gain anything through the sequence of pit stops. We've also got Andrew Daniels on pit road as well in the number 82 car. But Brad Lawson going to get himself 4 fresh tyres. He will top up with race fuel as well. 15 seconds now, 16 seconds for Lawson. And Liam Quinn goes past 18.8 seconds stop for Lawson. And it does look as though that he's been able to eke out about a second there on his pit stop over T-Mac, but T-Mac was actually faster on his in-lap, but a bit loose coming out of pit road for Brad Lawson. Got to be careful of those yellow strips on the inside of that pit exit lane, and Brad Lawson almost clipped one of them. That could end your race immediately, Randy.
Oh, those things are such a headache, and they're such a pain. You'd have this great race going, you can get on the pit road great, and then you're coming off pit road and you clip one of those things, and now suddenly your left front wheel is in your fender well, and it's just like, oh great, I just threw away at this race. Whenever you do that, you are so angry at yourself, and I have done it as we see Lawson dealing with some slower traffic right now.
Yeah, that was the laps car of Andrew Daniels, just getting out of the way, got himself onto the grass, braking a little bit late there as well. Con Flip is right on the rear of Brad Lawson. Of course, Lawson now with heavy fuel but fresh tyres. Con Flip with old tyres but very light fuel. We expect him to come onto pit road this time by, and Flip is going to close right up to the rear of Brad Lawson as they come down into the bus stop chicane once again. Don't think Flip's going to be close enough to make a pass coming into the corner. He's going to be certainly close enough to go side by side as they come out of the corner. Issue is, of course, if Flip's going to come onto pit road this time by, he could lose almost a second just having to sit behind in that draft, and I do think that is what he's doing because Flip isn't really putting the pressure on. He should be alongside right now of Lawson, but Flip, as I was predicting, coming down onto pit road this time by, Randy.
Yes, he is, and he needs to be very careful to not speed. Oh, that was really close.
Yeah, it does look as though that he's speeding on pit road by my record.
He's doing 54 miles an hour right now, but he's definitely going to be tight. We see him swerving through the pit lane, and it's going to be really interesting. We'll see what speed was he doing at the access now.
We'll keep an eye out on that one. We're keeping an eye out on the pit time for him as well. Pit watch isn't working. 16 seconds on the jack. 17.7, so no penalty. Out and away for conflict there. 3 to go to the end of the race, and he'll fall back down into that 3rd position on the racetrack. Liam Quinn has made his pit stop as well, and 19.8 second stop as he gets loose down into the horseshoe. But Lawson does now lead the way in that P1 class with a 7.3 second advantage now over T-Mac. T-Mac is going to try and close him down through the latter stages of this event. Past the halfway distance now here on RaceSpotTV. And to have a look through your top 5 in each of the classes, it is Quinn leading the way from Lawson right now in P1. Then it's Flip. Then it's no, that's completely wrong. T-Mac is showing down in the 4th position. It's actually Lawson from T-Mac. Then you've got yourself Quinn running himself down in the 3rd position. You got Flip there as well. We'll get confirmation of this the next time they come past the start-finish line, once our timing and scoring properly updates itself. However, in the P2 class, it is still Omer leading the way from Jimmy Effling, then Bradshaw, then Corkill, and then in GT, Herring still leads from Lee, then Henry, then Curran, then Peterson. They are your top 5. None of the GT cars in the top 3 or 4 have yet to make a pit stop. Just having a look to see as well, John Ulmer hasn't made a pit stop in that P2 car. Ulmer is just absolutely dominating that P2 class right now. I haven't really talked about him much at all, but just simply dominant.
Yeah, he's like a lap ahead of everyone. It's kind of absurd. But extraordinarily well done by Ulmer to actually get that lead. And that's kind of a throwback Pennzoil scheme, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's a rather nice scheme at that, I have to say. Just actually bringing that one up on my screen. But yeah, throwback Pennzoil scheme. Bright orange and yellow as he works himself down into the start-finish straight once again. Yep, down in towards turn and 1. He has had one moment in this race, the P2 leader of John Ulmer, but apart from that, it's been a faultless day for him. To give you an update, by the way, T-Mac, that last time by, has closed up about a 1 second over Brad Lawson. 1 minute 43.3 there for T-Mac, and a 1 minute 44.0 for Brad Lawson. So T-Mac is coming all of a sudden in this event, as Adam Lee is onto pit road by the looks of it. Yes, he is.
Yep, and he's got himself a bit of damage in that Alpina BMW Z4, but he's probably going to get some of that repaired as he gets filled up with some Sunoco racing fuel, some 4 racing tires. There's iRacing's best rubber that they have. But
and he might even get himself a pretzel dog from Sonic while he's there.
That's true. I'm still wondering if the Sif sandwich shop is in there with their excellent turkey sandwiches.
Yeah, 35.4 second stop there for Adam Lee. 4 fresh tires, Sunoco fuel, and a pretzel dog in hand back out onto the racetrack. David Henry is onto pit road. He's going to get himself a Sonic Shake. Doesn't want a pretzel dog in that number 80 car. Back out and away onto the racetrack. 27.2 second stop there for him. Actually, just having a look at pit time. Potentially might have had a little bit of a speeding penalty there for Adam Lee, because it's about 10 seconds longer. Maybe a speeding penalty for that BMW.
Perhaps. We'll have to see. I actually wasn't. Let's see. Or he may have I think he got some of his optional repairs done, because if you watch the pulls away, you see some of that damage is fixed. I think that's what happened there.
Okay. As he just slides down the inside there of the Pennzoil number 19 car. So this is that stage of the race that you will see these guys really battling, as Adam Lee has got Peterson right behind him. So he got himself past Peterson there on the exit of the pit stop strategy. Very close though between P3 and P4 in the GTs, who ride now on board with Peterson in that number 19 Pennzoil Zexcel car even.
Yeah, the Pennzoil Zexcel cars are there's 2 of them, and they're running really, really strong. They're running, I believe, what, 4th and 5th in class right now.
They
Those
are.
2 teammates running 4th and 5th in class. They got to be happy with that. They've been running fairly clean. One of them had that incident in the bus stop. However, I think he escaped with pretty minor damage, and they're the prettiest looking cars in the field as well. So you got to go with that.
Well, yeah, we discussed that one earlier. But as it stands right now, it does seem to be that this battle in GT is the closest battle that we have on the racetrack. Just a couple of seconds separating these drivers, as Peterson is now actually onto pit road to take that one away. Peterson is onto pit road to make his one and only pit stop of the day, Randy.
He's going to come down looking for his pit box, looking for his iRacing non-existent victory, and he pulled in. They jacked him up, getting ready. They're going to be running around, changing all 4 of those tires, pumping Sunoco race fuel into this. Probably getting a windscreen tear off as well.
Yep.
Now they're not going to be taking a full tank, even the full 80%. I do not believe, because it's only about a 30-minute stint here, and these cars go about 50 minutes.
25 minutes then, actually, so it should be a shorter stop. Look, somewhere in the region of 30 seconds. He's still there though. 28, 29 seconds on the stopwatch for Peterson. It is a long stop for him.
They must have ran out of pretzel dogs and had to make more.
Yeah, 36.4 second stop there for Peterson. A long stop for him as he is back out now onto the racetrack. One car who hasn't yet made a pit stop is Darren Curran, running 2nd place in the GT class, but he now brings that car onto pit road. And there is a little bit of a variation between the GT cars that we have in this event, the Rough and the BMW. And also the McLaren, just a little bit of a difference between these cars, of how much exact fuel there is, and also their fuel burn rate as well, how fast they get that fuel into these cars. Is that something you'd think that these guys would have been thinking about when they decided which car to actually use for this race?
Well, it's definitely something you need to think about, because the Rough actually holds the least amount of fuel than any of the other cars. So with a short race like this, you can have a shorter pit stop, and it doesn't go as far, but as the McLaren or the BMW, but the pit stop is a decent amount shorter, as we have our GT leader Brian Herring in the McLaren coming in. Now the McLaren actually holds more fuel than any of the GT3 cars currently, holding, it tops out at about 33.8 gallons, and it's generally able to go a few laps longer than those other cars, which we're actually seeing right here. As if you've been paying attention to the pit stops, we've seen a bunch of BMWs and Rust, but there's been no McLarens down in the lane. But now here, a couple laps after pretty much everyone else has already got their pit stops out of the way, we're starting to get McLarens to come down.
Yep, and here is Brian Herring then to make his pit stop. It's a 33-second stop for the other car there on pit road. Herring up to 20 seconds as he gets his 4 fresh tyres, gets himself his tear off, gets himself the chance to stretch his legs before he goes out for the last 22 minutes of this event. Lighting up the car there, you see the afterburners on, as it's a 33.3 second stop for him, back out and away onto the racetrack. Timing and scoring showing him still running in the 1st place overall in GT. So nice to know when you come onto pit road, you come out, you got a clear track ahead of you in GT. That is exactly what has happened for Brian Herring. 22 minutes and change left in this event here on RaceSpotTV. Absolute beginners here from Daytona International Speedway. We are going to step aside for just one moment, and then we'll be right back with the closing 20 minutes of this event. Stay with us here on RaceSpotTV.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Checking up, go low, come on low, come on low, come on low, come on low, go low, 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 low.
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 to the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.com.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to continuing coverage of this Absolute Beginners here on RaceSpotTV from Daytona International Speedway. And whilst we were away, T-Mac had himself another moment, Randy. We've seen him have a couple in the first stint. He's had one in the second stint. Now, as well as all the things we're talking about, wind direction, of course, being the big one, these cars change over the course of a fuel run. The handling that you have at the start of the run is not the same as the car you have at the end of the one, as he got so loose there on the exit of the turn number 2. And that Riley was wicked loose there, almost binned that car. He is trying to get himself back into contention. Now, his last lap was a 1 minute 45.5, but for all intents and purposes, I think that is now T-Mac's day done.
Yeah, it pretty much is. There's about 10 to 15 laps left in this race, and he's got a 20-second disadvantage. He'd have to take about 2 seconds per lap out of him. I just heard a major contact somewhere.
Yeah, we'll get confirmation of that. I heard that as well. Keep an eye out to see if there's anything that we can see on the racetrack. And car number 442 there, and that is Bert Herrens. Is out of the race. Let's see if we can get a replay of this up on your screen. Let's see what happened to that 442 car, and just broken engine for him. So,
wow,
that's not something we often happen to see to these guys.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the one that backed into the wall in turn 1 about 20 or so laps ago. I think that might have just overheated on him finally. As he goes to power out of turn 1, the car just explodes.
It's not often we do see blown engines in this McLaren, but you are right. We did see some rear damage to that car. I mean, it was shooting all forms of flames out onto the racetrack as well. So,
well, McLaren does that by default anyway.
Yeah, but in this case, it was a little bit more than we're normally used to, shall we say?
Yes, indeed. But it's definitely tough for him. He was having a decent run considering all the damage he had. So definitely a bit of heartbreak. But no, he's not living with any heartbreak. Is Brad Lawson right now, running in first place, just running a smooth, consistent place, just letting the people in front of him make mistakes, and he just carries on like normal.
Up 2 places since the drop of the green flag as well. His last lap, a 1 minute 42.928. T-Mac did a 1 minute 43.821. Carry on.
Yeah, so he's also lapping faster too, which is actually kind of. I mean, if it was assumed that he was just slower but more consistent, you wouldn't see that lap time differential. I mean, that may have been due to traffic, as T-Mac crossed the line. Nope, he's on different part of the track than I thought it was. But Yeah, Brad Lawson has definitely driven a great race. Just smooth, slow, smooth, and now he's winning.
He is, and just having a look at the fastest laps of the race. Now, Lawson does have the fastest lap of the race. That was draft assisted, but we do remember that at the start of the race was where T-Mac was fastest. Now, in the last stage of the races, this is where Lawson was fastest in the first stint, faster in the second stint once again, and I think that really rattled T-Mac, knowing that he was good for the first 15-20 minutes of a run, but then that car, just something seems to happen to it, Randy, which puts him out of contention, slows that car down. As behind, we have got a great battle going on right now between, well, 3 different classes of cars, so not really a great battle really at all. Simon scoring, showing it to be a close battle right now, but you have got Daniel still running in P5 in the P1 class. He's actually just going past Jimmy Effling running in P2 in the P2 class. We don't actually talk much about Effling at all, just because, you know, Ulmer's just been so dominant in that P2 lead.
Yeah, Ulmer's put on a clinic in the P2 car right now. I mean, right now he's coming out of the oval turn 2, and his rival is coming out of oval turn 2. No, excuse me, turn 4. So
that's the entire infield.
Yes, that's the infield, and then pretty much half of the 2.5 mile oval.
Crazy stuff. There's Effling's last lap time was a 1 minute 49.057. Ulmer's last lap time a 1 minute 44.069. Having a look at the fastest lap that Effling's done. Oh no, it's Ulmer. I think just lost it there. Ulmer has just lost it down out of turn number 5. Just getting that car a little bit loose, spinning it around on the grass. This grass is so slippery at night as well. He will bring that car into the racetrack. Thankfully, we're just talking about the lead he has. But almost fastest lap of the race, a 1 at 43.3. That's 2 seconds faster than what Effling's been able to do. But that's our second mistake now we have seen for our P2 race leader.
Yeah, he's had a couple spins, and they've definitely cut into his 37-mile lead. But probably it might just be a case of Ulmer just knowing he has to get it to the finish and just probably laps of concentration, just kind of cruising.
Kind of 1998 Monaco, we always call that, don't we? Senna syndrome.
A little bit. I preferred, what was it, 91 when Ayrton did it?
Yeah, true. Just having a look through our timing and scoring, most of our battles have calmed themselves down for the time being. Having a look actually to see what is going on, and Darren Curran is very close to the rear of Jimmy Effling, and you're talking about this at the end of the race. Some of the P2 drivers and the GT drivers are going to be mighty close. Curran in that P5 spot right now is rather close to the rear of Jimmy Effling in that P2 car. And just having a look through overall positions, we have actually got a couple of GT drivers ahead of your P2 car.
Yeah, we do. Might have had some drama in that P1. You got Andrew Daniels right now. He's 5th in class, 9th overall. He's in that DP. But like you said, there are 3 GT cars in front of him, as well as a Radical team going real wide through the first of the 3 horseshoes. Excuse me. But you got Adam Lee and Pitson in front of him, and then you got Brian Herring, who's a GT class leader, ahead of him as well.
So then, play clock shows 12 minutes left in this event. You can, of course, see the overall leaders and the overall classes of the ticker running along the top of your screen. But just having a look through the field, we haven't talked about some of these guys running in the GT class that much. Carl Petson having a sterling job right now in that P2 in the GT class. Now he's got a 6-second gap over Adam Lee, and Adam Lee was really strong in the early part of this race, but Petson running really well right now in that BMW.
Yeah, he is. While mistakes have kind of plagued the top few drivers in the P1 class, the GT guys have actually remained pretty clean. There's been a few, but the guys that are up front right now, I think, are all people that have been able to keep their nose clean and just go about their business. They're not pushing that hard. They're not over-driving the car. I haven't seen many spins.
I'm having a look actually. Last time, Petson did himself 1 minute 1 minute 49.2. Adam Lee did himself 1 minute 48.8. So Lee is closing up in that Alpina BMW car, but not at the rate that you think that he'll be able to catch Pitson before the end of this event.
Yeah, he's going to have to find something if he plans on catching Pitson. He's got a probably about a 7 or 8 second gap to him, so to Pitson that is. So he's definitely going to need to find about a second per lap in order if he wants to catch him, which is a slightly easier said than done.
And Adam Lee running a little bit wide. Yeah, as you see that there, that Adam Lee, that's going to cost him as well. Every 10th of a second now for Adam Lee is going to hurt him, just running a little bit wide. And that corner, again, really getting some people out. Jimmy Effling continues to run P2 in that P2 class. Just having a look through the other guys running in P2 actually. The other two guys are out of race, both Adam Bradshaw and Andy Corkle. We haven't talked about how difficult this P2 car actually is to drive sometimes. I know it's a favourite of the guys from Club UK&I, but both the UK&I drivers are out of this event, which is rather surprising. Yeah,
the Radicals become kind of a... it's become a lot of fun lately. They've added recently, a couple builds ago, they added dive planes to it to increase the front downforce and kind of spice up the setups a little bit. And on the new tire model, it drives really great. It's a very, very fun car to race if anyone's interested in trying to find some
car still.
Yeah, it's difficult, but it's easy to drive, difficult to be fast in, which is kind of what a lot of people like in their downforce cars. It's stable, it's relatively stable, it's quick, but it's a lot of fun.
So then, to run through with less than 10 minutes on the play clock, your top 3 in each of the classes. Brad Lawson still leads in P1 now with a 22.5 second gap over T-Mac, as Jimmy Effling just running there wide into turn number 1, allowing the BMW, who would just pass on the banking, to go past. T-Mac runs in the second position. Liam Quinn runs himself in first, and Ulmer has crashed. Ulmer has crashed from P2 race lead there. So let's see whether he actually be able to get his car back going. But Ulmer has got himself a ton of damage right now in that number 902 car. The Pentel car, a huge crash for him. And that left-hand side bodywork is completely crumpled. Of course, he might not be able to get to the end of the race with that amount of damage. He might be called in by race control, Randy.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake. I'm not sure if the replay's up yet, but as he came out of turn 1, or as he come out of turn 1, there's a very, very not very tight chicane that runs parallel to the pit lane, and he was behind another car. He went through the right-hander, but he couldn't see where the apex was, and he turned in too early, and he ended up smacking the pit lane wall with the left side of his car. He basically drove right into it, and that completely destroyed his car. I wouldn't be very surprised if he doesn't have a meatball flag right now, and he's going to be extraordinarily down on pace anyways. As you see him going down the straightaway, he's only hitting about 150 before he gets to the bus stop, whereas before, who's doing
about 170. So yeah, I'm just having a look, and the thing about that was the BMW ahead of him just kicked up a huge plume of dust, as those GT cars normally do kind of run the curbs there at that chicane through turns number 2 and 3 on the racetrack. Ulmer, who does carry on, just having a look to see if there's any smoke from the rear of that car. He's bringing that car onto pit road.
Yeah, he may have, that mistake may have just thrown this way. Now it looked to me like a misjudgment. I'm not sure what else if there was something else that happened. We'll have to ask him after the race, but that has got to be a heartbreak. He has like a lap and a half lead, and then just like that, it basically gets handed to Jimmy Effling.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at Effling actually, and just trying to see where he is on the racetrack. He's actually working himself now down through the kink, down into turn number 5 on the racetrack. So it was almost a full lap there that John Ulmer had. Ulmer is on pit road, getting some repairs to his race car. We'll see how long he will be staying on pit road for, but this could be a very lengthy stop. We have got to keep our eye out on Jimmy Effling, as he's now working himself onto the banking in that 00 car. We're actually almost grazing the wall himself there as he did so. Very wide exit there out of turn number 7. But Effling now is onto banking, charging down towards that bus stop chicane as he gets passed by a P1 car. checking in to see whether Ulmer is coming out of pit road. No, he hasn't. Ulmer is still on pit road. Effling now working himself down onto the bus stop chicane. We potentially could see a new leader in P2 from a class that has just been dominated by John Ulmer. Keeping an eye out to see whether Ulmer is going to come out of pit road, because Effling now working himself out of oval corner number 4. Ulmer remains on pit road. Will Effling be able to get himself past? I think the answer to this question is going to be yes. That gap is now down to just a couple of seconds. Ulmer loses that position now to Jimmy Effling. Ulmer hasn't come out of pit road yet. Effling now leads in P2.
Yeah, it's got a huge upset for Ulmer. It hasn't updated yet because of where Ulmer was on track. Ulmer in the pit lane was past the start-finish line, so it hasn't updated just yet, but it should do it this time by. But yeah, that is just a huge upset for Ulmer. I mean, to lead the way he did and to throw it away like that is just heartbreaking. Especially with under 10 minutes to go in the race. It's just
under 10 minutes to go, under 5 minutes to go in this event. And I was actually thinking the amount of laps that is left, maybe Ulmer might have tried to coax that car home, because he's now been on pit road for 2 minutes. He had to crash with about 8 minutes to go. He might have just been able, if he had coaxed it around, done lap times in the 2:20 range, he would have been able to get that car to the end of the race and kept the race clean. Because now his pit time's about 2:20 now for him, and Ulmer throwing that race lead away. In fact, he will only come P2 in the P2 class. There's only 2 of those cars remaining. But Jimmy Effling, as we said, what did we say at the top of the broadcast here, Randy? Keep your car clean. There's a good charge in, get yourself a decent finish, and that is what Effling has done.
Yeah, get himself a decent win. Finish. He just got himself a win, and Brad Lawson actually did it the same way too. All he did is sit.
As T-Max have another spin, actually. Just as you say that, T-Max had a spin on the banking. And this is, I believe, coming out of corner number 7 on the racetrack. Yeah, it was coming out of turn number 7 on the racetrack. We'll try and get ourselves a replay up on your screen for that one. But T-Mac just coming out of turn number 7, getting that car loose on the second part of the corner, slid it onto the grass, slid it up the racetrack, and actually hit the wall that time, Randy.
Yeah, he did, so he's going to have a bit of damage. Let's see, it'll be interesting to see where Liam Quinn is. Okay, so T-Mac right now is between 3 and 4 on the oval. And Liam Quinn is entering turn 3 about probably 6 seconds behind him, maybe 7. So it'll be interesting to see how this damage hurts T-Mac, because there is enough time in this race to where if there's a decent amount of damage on that car, Liam Quinn could come in and make this very interesting.
Well, Liam Quinn was only up to 178 miles an hour down into turn 1. T-Mac did himself a 185 mile an hour apex down into turn 1. So T-Mac does still have the advantage. The gap is 4 seconds on the racetrack. Just having a look at our live timing there, it's down to about 3.4 seconds. And this is where it's going to hurt T-Mac the most, this section of the racetrack. And of course now, T-Mac knows with 2 laps to go, he's got 2 options. Push like hell and hope the fact that he doesn't spin that car again, or coax it, go a second lap slower, and hope that Liam Quinn hasn't got enough in the tank to try and get past him.
Yeah, that's exactly his 2 options. Quinn does get a little bit of squirrely coming out of that hairpin, but he turned 6 and then now going into turn 7. But yeah, T-Mac, he definitely has to stay clean at this point. He has a little bit of speed on Quinn. We've seen that. He just has to, he has the speed. He just has to drive clean.
He just has to what?
Just has to drive clean.
And also in GT, battle for P2 and P3, Kyle Petson and Adam Lee, the gap down between those drivers now down to 1.7 seconds on the racetrack. And having looked last time by, a 1 minute 48 there for Petson, a 1 minute 47 flat for Adam Lee. So Lee is catching Petson with what's going to be 2 laps to go. It will indeed be, in fact, no, this could potentially be the white flag up. It's going to be close. I do think that we will get the white flag next time by. But T-Mac, the gap between himself and Liam Quinn is now down to 2.6 seconds on the racetrack. Adam Lee is pounding down, though, Kyle Petson in this battle for P2 in the GT class. That gap now down to 1 second, and that means that Lee is going to have the draft, as they are going to get the white flag, we believe, next time by. Lee is going to be so thankful that for that additional lap.
Oh, yeah, he is. He pushes. I think he just got himself a black flag.
Oh, yes, he did.
Oh, no.
Game over for Adam Lee there, and from coming so close, you see he's dropping back. He's doing it the right way here, not really fully slowing down to a halt, trying it down as much as he can. He'll lose about a second and a bit here, but for Adam Lee, that pretty much is his charge done. Liam Quinn, however, is now within 2 seconds of T-Mac, as having a look at the play clock, Brad Lawson coming past, he's going to be mighty close actually. Having a look, it's going to be 10 seconds left now on the play clock. 9, 8, 7 seconds for
We're going to get
another
lap.
We're just about going to get it with 3 seconds left on the play clock. Lawson comes down into turn number 1. White flag will be out this time by.
Now this is going to make a few battles interesting. You got Quinn that is within the draft of T-Mac right now, and Adam Lee is going to get another lap to where he can try to reel Pitson back in, and he has already done so.
Yeah, Adam Lee is mighty close now. And actually, because they are behind the race leader, they're actually going to get themselves another lap to get this done. Because, of course, the checkered flag will come out the next time Lawson comes past the start-finish line. Adam Lee is all over the rear once again of Kyle Pitson. Will go on board with Adam Lee as they work themselves onto the banking one more time. Lee is as close as he's ever been. This is the battle for P2 on the racetrack. Liam Quinn also mighty close as well. The battles are going on right now. 4 tenths of a second gap now between Lee and Pitson. But here comes Lee and Quinn. Quinn's going down to the inside of T-Mac. On the outside of T-Mac. Quinn goes wide as he tries to do that. That's going to be his race done. T-Mac likely to be able to hold on now.
Yeah, it's definitely a heartbreak for Quinn, but we got to keep an eye on this GT car battle with Adam Lee and Pitson.
Yeah, they will get the white flag this time by, so there's going to be one more lap to go for these guys. Adam Lee, will he try and go around the outside? Will he try and slow it down the inside? The answer is going to be he's going to go to the outside line. They will see the white flag this time by, and Adam Lee takes that position away as keeping an eye out on Brad Lawson, because he comes out of corner number 4 off the oval. He will claim victory here at Daytona, and he does so in an emphatic fashion with over a 40-second race lead from T-Mac. T-Mac right now is working himself down towards the bus stop chicane for the final time. Liam Quinn is now 3 seconds back. T-Mac makes the chicane without any issues. I think that T-Mac now is his case of bring it home. He will be okay. Quinn will have to settle for 3rd place overall. But Lee was able to get ahead of Pitson and has been able to pull out about a 1.5 second gap on the infield. That is what Lee needed to do to avoid a dash to the line there with Adam Lee, so long as he doesn't mess up that bus stop chicane again.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, something happened in turn 1, and Pitson really let Adam have a lot of time. I'm not sure what happened, but this battle has definitely died down the last half a lap. I think Pitson's running out of fuel.
Yes, he is. He is coasting right now. I'm actually just having a look to see where his closest rival is going to be. Only about 10 seconds back is P5 right now. But I do think that these guys are scored a lap down. So yeah, Pitson is going to run out of fuel, but he's not actually going to lose a position, I don't think, because Curran, who's running in 4th, is classified a lap down from your GT race leader. We'll keep an eye out on this. In fact, Curran might have been classified as out of fuel as well. But confirmation, T-Mac comes home in the 2nd place in the P1 class. Liam Quinn comes home in 3rd. And then it is Ron Clipp who comes home 4th in P1. And by the way, we have got to say congratulations to our P2 winner, because we didn't see anything about him. And also Ben Herring has come past start finish line, and he has claimed the GT victory. So Jimmy Effling, congratulations to him. Of course, he took away that P2 race lead with just a couple of laps to go, beating John Ulmer, who had that crash in that 902 car. And also in GT, haven't talked about him much, but Brian Herring, what a result for him. Just dominant there in that GT class.
Yeah, Brian definitely put on a bit of a clinic, kind of like Ulmer was in the Radical. So that was extraordinarily well run. So yeah, that was a pretty good. That was extremely well run by Brad and Brian and Jimmy there, just keeping their noses clean and finding themselves all in victory lane.
And the victory begins. Victory celebrations begin for Brad Lawson, bringing that car down towards the start-finish line here at Daytona. Will it be a donut? Will it be a look for the flag? It looks as though it's just going to be a slowdown now for Brad Lawson, waiting to see if there's going to be any donuts from him. Yes, there is, as he comes onto the banking. Might need to work on the donuts a little bit there, Randy.
Yes, indeed. I don't mind donuts. Donuts are always good.
And get confirmation then of your final race results. Just one moment's time as we hit this button. So then, confirmation of your final race results here from Daytona, and Brad Lawson claiming victory in the P1 class, and a gap there of 41 seconds when all was said and done over his nearest competitor, T-Mac, who came home in the second position. Liam Quinn coming home third. He tried, he was so close at the end, but running a little bit wide and getting himself off to the racetrack after trying to make a pass from T-Mac means he comes home third. Con Flip coming home in fourth, and Andrew Daniels rounds out your top 5 in P1. Over into the P2 class, and it was Jimmy Effling coming home with the race victory by 1 lap overall over John Ulmer. Ulmer led the way for the entire race until, with about 4 laps to go, crashing that car, moving himself onto pit road, getting some repairs. Jimmy Effling went through to score a class victory. Adam Bradshaw and Andy Corkle coming home third and fourth respectively. And then to have a look at your GT results, Brian Herring coming home with the overall race lead, Adam Lee in second, Carl Pixon in third, and then it was David Henry, Darren Curran, L. Peterson, Christopher Hara, Marcus Kramer and Chad Steiner. They were your top 10 when all was said and done. Been an interesting one here today, Randy.
A little bit, a lot of spins, a lot of crashes, Enzo spectacle cars. It was a race had a bit of everything now, didn't it?
It did.
And it had us, so it had to be a perfect race.
Well, yeah. Driver of the race?
I'm gonna have to give that to Dawson, Brad Dawson. Or excuse me, Brad Lawson. I have too many.
I think you're confusing him with someone.
Yeah, I'm a shout outs to the Rookie Racing Foundation. But yeah, all he did was run clean. He didn't run. He wasn't the fastest driver in P1 over the race, but he's the only one that didn't spin. And now he's in victory lane because of it. So.
Been a very clean race there for him. Gotta give a shout out to Effling in that P2 class for just never giving up. And of course he had that one moment, but apart from that, despite the fact he was so far down, he didn't ever give up there in that P2 class. And he was rewarded there with a class victory.
Yep, sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes just being patient and just being diligent. That's all it takes.
And then over in GT, we didn't talk about... Normally, if we don't talk about someone, it means they've either done very badly or very well. Brian Herring in that GT
No.
class.
We always talk about people who do very badly.
So, basically, if we don't talk about you, it means that you've done very well. And Brian Herring, we haven't really talked much about him at all, but what a victory he had in GT here today.
Yeah, that was extraordinarily well run by him. Didn't make any mistakes, and he was able... I mean, he broke away from the draft pretty early, and from there he just checked out.
Well,
that was extraordinarily well run on his part. It
was indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, it is time for us to say goodbye. Thank you very much for being part of our coverage. You know what? Let's start that again, shall we, Randy?
Sure thing.
And with that, it is time to say goodbye, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of our coverage here today on RaceSpotTV. 3 different class winners we had in P1. A great victory here today by someone whose name I have actually literally just forgotten because it hasn't come off my stream. Brad Lawson winning in P1, and then in P2, Jimmy Effling taking his class victory, Brian Herring taking victory in the GT class. Don't forget, the next round of the RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series takes place in 13 days' time at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Hugo Louise trying to snap the 7-win streak by Gregor Hutu. Don't forget the Glacier Racing drivers of Ollie Picard and Alexei Usiakola, each trying to go for their second wins of the season. Potentially, Jake Sturgis could become the first driver to win a race in both the NASCAR Peak Anti-Prix Series and also the RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series as well. And on Friday, we continue our coverage of the 2014 Season 3 IndyCar Road Championship. So join us from 8 PM GMT for that. Plenty more ISOWC action as we move towards the ISOWC Indy 500. And we'll be back soon here on RaceSpotTV for more absolute beginners racing. For myself, Will Vincent, Randy Chenoweth, and Hugo Louise on cameras. We will talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.